So, this week in science, we are talking about and learning about animals. So, I thought today we would start by learning about a certain type of animals. So, we heard earlier this week that Miss Herring read a book about a salamander, which is in the same family as frogs, and that is the amphibian family. Can you say that with me? Amphibian. Yeah, that's a weird word. Let's find out what those animals are like. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I am going to show you a book all about amphibians. There we go. We see a salamander there. We see a frog there. Let's see if we can learn why they are amphibians. This says animals can be sorted into groups: mammals, fish, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and insects or spiders. Today, we are going to talk about amphibians. Frogs and salamanders are an example of amphibians. Amphibians can live in many different habitats on Earth, but they need to be near fresh water like lakes, ponds, marshes, rainforests, forests, and streams. So both of these animals need to be close to water. They live on every continent except on Antarctica. And we know about Antarctica, that's really where it's so cold. That's probably why they don't live there. Some amphibians are very small, and some amphibians can grow very large. This is the largest amphibian, and it is a Chinese water salamander, and it can be up to 6 feet long, which would be like if Miss Robertson laid on the ground, longer than me. They're huge. Amphibians have several things in common. Amphibians are covered in a moist or wet, smooth skin. So you can see these frogs, the salamander, their skin is wet and it's smooth. Some amphibians produce slime so they can keep their skin moist or wet. This helps them breathe because adults breathe through their lungs and their skin. Amphibians are oviparous and lay eggs under the water. So what you see right here in the picture, those are little eggs with probably baby tadpoles in them, which would be frogs. After they hatch, amphibians live the first part of their life in water. So you can see down here in the picture, these are tadpoles and they start in the water. They are born with fins and gills to breathe and swim underwater. So when they're born, they're kind of like a fish. As amphibians mature or get older, their bodies go through a metamorphosis or a change. So they start to look different. They grow lungs and feet, and their gills and fins disappear. So they start to look like frogs or salamanders. After they have lungs and feet, amphibians live the second part of their life on land. But they need to live near water so they can lay eggs in the water later. So they always need to live somewhere near water. Amphibians are cold-blooded and become colder or hotter depending on the temperature of their environment. So we learned a lot about amphibians. We know what they feel like, what they look like. We know that they lay eggs. We know that their skin is wet. We know all kinds of information now. So the next thing we're going to do is explore a little bit more about salamanders and also amphibians.